So what happens when the hype fades and the habits aren't in place? Well, people come back to us as coaches for permanent transformations. All right. I'm not the type to badmouth Ozempic. I think it has a place. I actually tried using it about a year and a half ago. Gave me some wicked insomnia and bathroom issues. That's fairly isolated side effect, I think, but it was a non-starter for me. It can be a miracle for some if it's paired with true lifestyle habit change. Okay. Because all it does at the end of the day is pause your hunger. And when that pause ends, when you miss a dose, when you go off of it, you can't afford it anymore, you get stuck in the same patterns, you regain the weight you lost, and it all becomes this temporary quick fix. So we're going to talk about how to build the kind of results that stay even when the prescription runs out. Okay. And here's first off what I'm seeing in research. Another CNN article called it the Great Weight Rebound. 70% of the people who take these drugs don't stay on them for more than 2 years, and the majority of those who come off regain most, if not all, the weight. So what's happening? Well, you've heard my story. I dropped 60 pounds, not with the magic pill, although I tried a lot of magic pills. It was because I finally stopped trying to shortcut it. I hit rock bottom on the keto diet when I ended up going to the hospital with bowel obstruction, having nurses, looking at my rear end at 20 something years old. And that's when I realized it's not sustainable. It's not successful. And that's sort of what's playing out right now with Ozempic. People are losing weight fast, but they're not really building the habits to maintain it because it seems, why bother, right? I'm losing weight, I'm not eating, I'm seeing the scale go down. Awesome, high five. However, we do know without the foundation in place, strength training, sufficient protein, actually aiming to lose weight a little bit slower, you end up in the same trap you do with fad diets, where you lose a lot of weight early on, but nearly half of it's lean muscle tissue bone. And then you hit this plateau and you're not liking where you're at. You still got some belly fat and so on, and it's not going any lower down. That's because we haven't built that foundation of strength training, sufficient steps, proper protein and whole foods. Okay. So it's just not a magic injection. It can play a role. What it does is suppresses appetite. It doesn't change your behavior. It's like putting noise canceling headphones on your cravings. Awesome, right? To people that struggle with that, like myself, that can feel like a miracle working, because I've had a challenging relationship with food going back into my teenage years where I would just eat too much, 260 pounds. You have to be eating all day to get up to that number at that age. So I get the struggle. But fat loss that lasts isn't about eating less alone. It's about becoming someone who knows how to eat more of the right things, train hard, incorporate it all with structure and flexibility, without a spreadsheet, without a syringe at all times. And that's where that Big Five framework I talk about comes in, right? Where we get our cap control, that's our calories and protein in check, even if we've got maybe 20% of our calorie budget allotted for the wrong foods, quotations, that can be a very sustainable system. Drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, strength training, again, for that piece of the puzzle that preserves muscle and bone, and then getting enough movement throughout your day. 8,000 steps, 10,000 steps at the upper range. Really making a concerted effort to do that, not only for weight loss, but for your health. Because drugs like Ozempic, they don't burn fat by magic. It doesn't help you hit your protein. It sure as heck is not going to lift the weights for you. And in some cases, it lowers the motivation to do all those things. Okay. And then ultimately, you rebound, you feel like you failed, but it was your system. Because a system that's built on a supplement or syringe alone is not the full picture. That's what I've been obsessed with solving inside Calvert coaching since I started this, since I lost 60 pounds, since I helped thousands come and go since then. Okay. That's not to say the right system can't lead to a rebound either if you fall off the plan. If you stop adhering to those habits, sure as heck, your body will rebound. That's just the way we operate. So this is the goal, is to lose weight by training, fueling right, sleeping well, aiming for that 1 pound at a time, not trying to shock your system and rush off the fat, because that never works in the long run. So if you're coming off Ozempic or you're watching this, considering it, unfolding, and wondering if this is the easy button you've been missing, Here's just what I want you to take away from this episode is the habits you build. That's how you build a body that you live with forever, the one that you're happy with, that performs well, that looks and feels at its best. Because the goal isn't to lose weight temporarily while on a drug. The goal is to keep it off when you're not on anything. And that's where the true freedom lies. So I don't pick sides on this, and medication and habits, they both may have a role to play with certain people. But your lifestyle, your identity, first off, becoming a fitness person inside and out, that's the foundation, or none of these other tools really make a difference. Right? So if you want help rebuilding that foundation, even if you're on Ozempic now or considering it, DM me the word structure. I'll show you how to build a plan that doesn't fall apart the second you stop taking something, because that's really what matters here. And if you're a longtime listener and you get value out of these episodes, these videos, I'd really appreciate a review, a share of this episode, or subscribe wherever you tune in. And we'll see you next time.